Good morning. It's Tuesday, March 17, and today we're going to look at positive reinforcement, what it is and what it isn't. We're going to do that through this uh, reinforcement tutorial. I put the link on Moodle, and maybe you looked at it already. So it's at Athabasca University. So we're under practice exercise. So I'm just going to go through and explain these one by one, and hopefully that will help you understand what positive reinforcement is or isn't. Los trabajadores llegan en punto ahora. Forgot what yugar means in Spanish. I'm sure you could tell me if you were here. Decide if the following is an example of positive reinforcement. Look at the highlighted target behavior. In other words, it's in bold. At a Mexican factory, the workers were often late for work. A new procedure was put into effect in which every time a worker would arrive on time for work, he would receive a bonus of 10 pesos. Before the procedure was used, 85% arrived on time for work. As a result of the bonus procedure, the percentage of on-time workers per day increased to 97. This is me giving you time to think about it. So for positive reinforcement, you have a target behavior, and then some sort of reinforcer, and then you want an increase in the target behavior. So in this case, arriving on time for work is a behavior. They get a bonus of 10 pesos. That's the reinforcer. And then as a result of this, it does say the percentage goes up. So this is, yes, an example. Oh, look at that. After school math class. A group of third and fourth graders who were doing poorly in math attended an after-school remedial class. The children often failed to sit in their seats. In order to address the problem, a system was set up in which the bell rang on the average of every 20 minutes. If the children were sitting in their seats when the bell rang, they received points that could be exchanged later for snack, food, candy, clothes, and the opportunity to go on field trips. As a result of this method, the children sat in their seats much more than they did before the procedure was used. So it's a bit more difficult. So the target behavior is sit in their seats. We have this bell ringing every 20 minutes or so. If they're in their seat when the bell rings, this random bell, they get points. There's a reinforcer. Do you think? Yes or no? Let's try yes. There you go. There's your explanation. So you get that same issue, right? You get behavior, reinforcer, increase of target behavior. All right, the King Rewinders. Mrs. Hazy managed a busy local video rental store. On each video in the store was a sticker that said, "Be kind, rewind." Mrs. Hazy collected data and found that as a result of the use of this sticker, more people rewound their videos than they did before the stickers were used. We don't have very many video stores left anymore. This is kind of a deal of a bygone era. So the sticker says, "Be kind, rewind." The target behavior is rewinding videos As a result, more people rewound their videos than they did before the sticker was reused. Is there a reinforcer here? Is a sticker a reinforcer? That's the question. I said no. This is not an example of positive reinforcement because the be kind rewind message was not dependent upon rewinding. Right, so it's not like they rewound their videos and then magically the sticker appears saying you're kind because you rewound your video. The sticker was there actually whether or not they engaged in the target behavior. So this is like you get a reward whether or not you do the right thing if the sticker is a reward. So this is why it's not an example. It could happen to you. After many years of entering contests and lotteries, Ken hit the jackpot and won $1 million in a government-sponsored lottery. Ken felt great. His wildest dream of riches had come true. He was dizzy with excitement trying to figure out what to buy for his family, which had lived for years barely making it from paycheck to paycheck. Notice the British spelling. Obviously, this is not advocating that you go buy a lottery ticket. Dave Ramsey calls the lottery the stupid tax on the poor. Not a good idea. All right, so he enters lots of contests and lotteries. He finally hits the jackpot. But what is missing? What is missing? Remember, in order to be positive reinforcement, you have to have a target behavior. There has to be a reinforcer, and then there has to be evidence that that target behavior increases. So in this case, we have he enters contest, there's your target behavior. He won a bunch of money, there's your reinforcer, but nowhere does it says that he spent the rest of his life entering many more contests and lotteries. So we don't know if the reinforcer increased the target behavior. So this is not an example. The sparkling conversationalist. It's hard for me to be a sparkling conversationalist when I'm talking to my computer screen. This is a lot more fun when you're in the classroom, and then I could put people on the spot and say, you, is this positive reinforcement? And then their eyes get big and they're like, I don't know. A group therapist was trying to teach conversational skills to a group of patients. In order to avoid long pauses in conversation, this therapist sounded a loud and unpleasant noise if the patients failed to maintain conversing for longer than 10 seconds. Awkward. As a result of this method, the patients maintained their conversation much better, or as my old college friend would say, more better, than they had before, and all became sparkling conversationalists. So again, positive reinforcement, target behavior, reinforcer, increase in target behavior. So you might look here and say, oh, we have a target behavior, conversing. What is the reinforcer? Notice that the therapist isn't giving them something for no pauses longer than 10 seconds. It's actually that there's this unpleasant noise that's being taken away. This sounds suspiciously like negative reinforcement, right? You have something unpleasant taken away, which leads to an increase. So no, not an example. I'm leaving this up so you can read through the jargon here if you want. On to the next. The class with high self-esteem. Miss Thomas was a third grade teacher who was doing an experiment designed to increase the self-esteem of the children in her class. One day, she began praising the students in her class every 20 minutes, no matter what they were doing. She found that as a result of this method, the students in her class raised their hands to answer Miss Thomas's questions more often than they had before she implemented the praising procedure. By now, you're probably getting the hang of this whole positive reinforcement thing, I'm assuming. So just like me, you're looking at this, you're thinking, is this the same deal where target behavior, reinforcement, increase in target behavior. My youngest child just woke up. So in this case, she's praising the students every 20 minutes, no matter what. So that doesn't matter if they were doing good behavior or bad behavior. She's just praising them randomly. So now they're raising their hands, but it more often, but that doesn't, if it said kids raise their hands, she praised them for raising their hands, and then they raise their hands more often, boom, positive reinforcement. But because she's praising them for who knows what, not positive reinforcement. On to the next. Run and scream therapy. Awesome. Three-year-old children attended nursery school for 3 hours per day. A lot of threes here. It was noticed that the children's favorite activities were running around the room and screaming, but sitting quietly and looking at the blackboard seldom occurred. Awesome. A procedure was implemented in which, when the children were observed to be sitting quietly and paying attention to the blackboard, they were permitted to run and scream. Even better. They immediately did so. When the children were not sitting quietly and paying attention to the blackboard, they were not permitted to run and scream. As a result of this technique, the children sat quietly and paid attention to the blackboard much more often than they had before. What a crazy example. All right, so we got the kids, they want to run around and scream. So they're told, you sit quietly and pay attention, and then you get to run and scream. And so the target behavior of sitting quietly and paying attention occurs more. So I guess it's kind of a you pat my back, I let you run around and scream deal. So this sounds like an example, bizarre as it is. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Mr. Welder, it would be great if we sat quietly and looked at the whiteboard if you let us run around and scream. Probably not going to happen. The TV buzzer. Miss Lewis was having difficulty getting her children to watch TV quietly. Oh man, first world problems. In order to solve the problem, stupid. Sorry. In order to solve the problem, she set up a system in which a loud buzzer would be on. The buzzer would cease making noise if the children watched TV quietly. As a result of this procedure, the children watched TV and never learned anything, because this is a dumb example. But as you're noticing, this is obviously negative reinforcement, because you got this buzzer thing that's going away. So not an example. We're moving on because this is dumb. All right, sit down. The teacher in a classroom began telling the students to sit down when they engaged in out-of-seat behavior. As a result of this procedure, the children engaged in out-of-seat behavior more often than before. Previously, the children were not told to sit down when they were out of their seats. Of course they weren't. All right, take a second, think about it. Okay, so positive reinforcement, right? Target behavior, reinforcer. Is there an increase of the target behavior because of the reinforcer? So here's the scenario. They're out of their seat. The teacher says, sit down, and it says the children engaged in out-of-seated behavior more often than before. So even though this is not the teacher's intent to increase out-of-seat behavior, that's what's happening. So in reinforcement, it doesn't matter your intent. What matters is behavior, right? This is B.F. Skinner. So they're out of their seats. She says, sit down. They're out of the seats more. This is positive reinforcement, even though the teacher doesn't want it to be. But I get a kick out of you. Eldon sometimes made insulting remarks to Nanette because of her sloppy appearance. One day, this angered Nanette so much she gave Eldon a kick in the rear end. Wow. She continued doing this whenever Eldon made the insulting remarks. As a result of this relation, Eldon made the insulting remarks to Nanette about her sloppiness more often than he ever had before she began kicking him. Of course he did. Eldon, what a sweetheart. So this would have been better if it hadn't happened right after the sit down example, but you notice the parallels, I'm sure. Eldon makes insulting remarks. Nanette gives him a kick. Eldon makes more insulting remarks. Sounds like positive reinforcement. Again, Nanette means this to be punishment. She wants a cease of his behavior, but he just likes Nanette's attention. This is probably one of those junior high situations where the guy doesn't know how to say, Nanette, I think I like you. And so instead of talking and using his big boy words, he insults her, which really means, Nanette, I like you. And so she, instead of Nanette saying, please just say you like me instead of insulting me, she kicks him, which is Nanette's way of saying, Eldon, I like you too, apparently. Weird. Look at that. We passed them all. Now, here's the cool thing. You could take this again on your own, and it will most likely give you different examples or maybe some of the same. And then if you have questions, like if you come to one and you don't get it right and you don't really understand it, you can copy and paste it to an email, send it to me, and I'll have my 4-year-old answer it. I mean, I will answer it. Maybe. Probably. If I get the right kind of reinforcement. All right, well, hopefully you enjoyed that positive reinforcement lesson. Again, if you have questions, you can email. I encourage you to go back through that tutorial on your own. I probably went too fast because it's weird for me to sit here and stare at a screen while you're thinking, because I don't know you're thinking because I can't see you. You understand. So, hope you have a wonderful day. And let's see, you can also read the readings posted on Moodle. Yeah, you got the idea.
Okay.